who care to protect that institution and sustain it, and who can think long-term, act ethically, and develop public outcomes within complex systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was a treatise. I possibly should ask you to do a public lecture. Would you be willing to? Would you be willing to give a public lecture on this? This is very apt.
Absolutely.
Keyword is constraints. Leadership in public sector is leading through constraints. The autonomy that the guys in private sector will find, you possibly will not find it like that in the public sector. And you must still deliver to the people who will hold you accountable on social media, who will hold you accountable on the streets. And so yours is difficult, more difficult. And as any leaders there, you've got to find a way to do that work. Creatively. Thank you so much, Dupe, for your input. Now let me go to Dr. Amos Abila. Doc, you are a man who has very great insight in values and sustainable leadership. My question to you will be that why must leadership development be reimagined? Why must it be reimagined through ethics, values, and purpose, particularly in today's high pressure and results-driven organizational environment? Why do we have to put ourselves under the burden of reimagining leadership through ethics, values, and purpose? I guess you should have some insight for us to share.
Thank you very much, Doc. I hope you can all hear me.
Very clearly, sir.
Okay, great. All right, so we must reimagine and reinvent and rethink leadership development, because without values, ethics, and purpose, there can be no sustainable performance. In today's high pressure and result-driven environment, ethical leadership is not an option. It is a necessity. We just have to do it. Now, according to the 2025 Ethisphere Institute research finding, a study that was done last year, 40% of organizations that were considered most ethical achieved more than 200% of the profits of their competitors. So in today's VUCA environment that is highly volatile, uncertain, complex, and diverse, the traditional model of leadership that focuses more on power, efficiency, and short-term results is no longer sufficient or sustainable. We need moral anchors to succeed and to achieve sustainable progress in our organizations. Now, so we must revamp urgently the way leadership development is done and emphasize values, ethics, and purpose for the following 4 reasons. First is that trust is low. There is very high trust deficit in our work environment. And this low trust negates high performance, because trust is the foundation of effective leadership. It is the foundation of the employment relationship itself. And so we need to rebuild around values and ethics and organizational purpose so that this trust can facilitate employee engagement and productivity. Number 2, the pressure cooker environment that we have today, where there is high pressure for performance on employees and meeting targets at all costs. This leads to shortcuts. People make shortcuts and sacrifice ethics and values. So we need leaders that are grounded in values and ethics. Let me illustrate with a personal example from my experience. Many years ago, I was head of human resources in a bank of over 15,000 employees. And the bank was losing employees massively, including good team leaders who were getting sacked from the bank at an average of about 60 employees per annum. I was bothered because this was affecting productivity and performance in the bank. So I called my HR team leaders and I directed that we analyze exit data for the previous 3 years and see why employees were leaving the bank in droves. And guess what we found? We discovered that 86% of those exits were due to poor attitude, behavior, and character, what I call the ABCs of employee performance, while only 14% had to leave the bank because of poor performance, failure to deliver on their KPIs. Now, those 86% were violating the core values of the bank in an attempt to achieve their job targets. What did we do? We quickly reviewed our criteria for hiring, for onboarding, for training, for performance management, for promotion, for reward, and even for exiting people from the bank. And we emphasized the core values of the bank and ethical conduct. And in the next 2 years, we reduced turnover by 78%. Now, what is the point here? Without a strong ethical grounding, leaders may prioritize result over integrity. So let us ensure our leaders have very strong ethical grounding. Remember, sustainable performance is impossible without ethical foundation. Third, purpose drives employee engagement. Leaders with purpose inspire and motivate their teams beyond just results. Sustainable performance requires purpose, not just pressure. Pressure will deliver short-term results, but when employees connect to purpose, organizational purpose, then you are on your way to sustainable performance. 4, the workplace expectations of our Gen Zs have shifted. Now, Gen Zs currently at 27%, they are the largest single group in the workplace today. And Gen Zs expect ethical leadership and authentic organizational purpose because they no longer work just for pay and job security, which is not there anyway. So what must we do? We must connect leaders to purpose. Leadership development must therefore integrate purpose-driven leadership, emotional intelligence, and ethical reasoning. Let me close with this quote from Linda Thornton, the author of The 7 Lanes of Ethical Leadership. And I quote, she wrote, "Leading with positive ethical values builds trust and brings out the best in people, which brings out the best in the organization, which leads to great and sustainable results." By rethinking leadership development through the foregoing lens, organizations, both private and public, can create and nurture leaders who achieve sustainable results while doing what is right. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amos. And that's so profound because today, the world that we live in today is one where character seem to be under attack. And so one key word I hear from you is character. Character will sustain, character will enable, character is going to build that foundation that we require. You talked about trust being low. I remember reading one chapter from John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, where he said the law of solid ground, trust is that solid ground. Some time ago, we used to have a bank in Nigeria that the middle name was Trust. You know, just right there, trust was the key word. Thank you so much. The ethics will be there. Values must come forward. The pressures are not an excuse. The demand for results should not be an excuse. Everyone should deliberately ensure that they build their character in order to lead sustainably. Thank you very much, Dr. Abila. Stanley, I'll come to you as I try to close this first round of questions. You have great insight into digital and transformational leadership. And from that perspective, I want to find out from you what leadership capabilities today are non-negotiable, right? They are non-negotiable for organizations, particularly as they navigate through digital disruptions and business change. These capabilities, you can but do it. Stanley, what do you think?
All right, thank you very much. And this is a very interesting discussion. Thanks to my fellow panelists for the very insightful thoughts they have shared as we build on this. What I would say is that I'll start by saying that leaders don't fail because they are not intelligent. Leaders don't fail because they are not skilled. One of the big reasons why leaders fail today is because things around them are changing a lot faster that they can really lead. So we the last speaker spoke about the VUCA world and all the things happening and how things are shifting very quickly. And unfortunately, our leaders aren't shifting as quickly as the things around them are evolving. So I'll talk about maybe 2 or 3 critical things that I think leaders would need to focus on. And one of the very simple ones that every one of us could think about will be talking about digital fluency and some level of comfort. Or what I mean by that, I mean some level of comfort around digital tools. We can't get to a point as leaders in organizations where we feel that this doesn't matter. It is for the IT people. It's not for my department. It doesn't concern me. It's not my business. When we get to that level, they will deal with it. We allow the ICT team do the dashboards and they send to us. We don't even know how data has gotten into it, how the analysis has happened, and how the outcome. All we just see is we sit in the boardrooms and we don't want to get involved. Honestly, until we get to the point where leaders are beginning to show deep interest in this conversation around digital changes that are happening and how they can enable, and I use the word deliberately, enable the work that we do, irrespective of function, irrespective of level, then we as leaders, we keep struggling. So digital fluency is key. I know of an organization where all their leaders were taken through some form of serious development and training on data-led decision making. It was a training, it's a very, very, one of the big multinationals that we know about. Data-led decision making, because it has become important that when those dashboards are seen, the leaders themselves would be able to make sense of them and not totally just rely on analysts for them to make decisions. The second skill that I think is quite important is what I call sense making and strategic clarity. We know strategic agility. A lot of our leaders, we talk a lot about strategic agility, so we train our people about strategic agility. But in an era where there's so much confusion, things are shifting or moving at the speed of light, changes are happening and almost sweeping away organizations and sweeping away functions and sweeping away even some of the skills that we have. They can't even hold, the anchor can't hold anymore. What then do we do? Leaders would be required in that confused state of confusion to be able to bring clarity to whatever we call strategy. Because one of the last things people want to struggle with is when the changes are happening and things are shifting, employees don't understand what is happening and they are left in confusion. So if leaders don't are not able to step in the heat of that confusion, then leadership is actually missing. So with all the disruptions happening today, a lot of functions are struggling and shaky. I know of a time where when the fintech organizations were beginning to step in and they were beginning to take over, a lot of shifts happened in the financial services sector. Now, the old generation banks that survived, what helped them survive was being able to, in the heat of the chaos, ask themselves, do we want to be product owners, running around selling products everywhere, or we want to become platform enablers? Very critical. So that shift had to happen. That's how some of those old generation banks were able to make the shift that is helping them survive today. And then the third one I'll talk about is adaptive decision-making speed. Is the speed with which you make decisions in the heat of the changes that are happening within the environment and within the context of work at that time as this shift is happening. I remember in the industry where I used to work, when it became very tough during the when we had the challenge around forex, and there was all the crises that organizations had to struggle with. One of the big things that happened at that point was that organizations that did not have to leave all the decisions at the headquarters or the HQ, those kind of organizations that enable the regional managers and the area managers in the field make pricing decisions, were the ones that quickly made significant progress and success in the heat of the challenge. So how do we get to the point where, as organizations, we don't only always have to keep, as leaders, keep decision making at our own tables alone, but we empower and we enable people at different levels make strategic decisions in the face of disruptions and in the face of the change that is happening, helping to explain why things are shifting and why the change is happening, and supporting and enabling effective decision making within the organizations. These three are critical skills that I think we would need at a time like this for leaders to be able to enable change in the face of digital disruption. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stanley. And you're standing well. Stanley, stand well. You're standing very well on the leg of digital. And so we are good to have you here. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and I just want to say here that all of our panelists have given us clear perspectives within contexts. When Adejoke talked about operational leadership development, operationalizing it for us, the key word for her was clarity. We all need to gain clarity as to what is expected of us, clarity as to where the business is going, clarity as to the outcomes expected, and understanding what the functional leaders are doing. Modupe talked to us about constraints. You can't do it the way you want to do it because institutions, policies, guidelines, frameworks have been designed to enable you succeed. And because you're creating value for the public, you also cannot do it anyhow. Dr. Abila emphasized character. Character is key. Trust, he said, is low. And then Stanley has said, we must not ignore the fact that change is the only constant thing around us. And so you've got to be very adaptive. If you want to put that in a context, there are 4 C's they've just mentioned, 4 critical things they've mentioned, 4 C's. Adejoke, I'll give you the first C, clarity. So you are Madam Clarity, okay? Additional name. Dukme, I'll give you, you're not Madam Constraints, but you mentioned constraints, okay? Constraints. And then number 3, Dr. Abila, you are Dr. Character. Dr. Character, that's a C for you, character. And then Stanley, Mr. Change. That's what it is for you, okay? So hold on to your titles. We would come back to it at the end of the day. At this point, I'd like everyone here on this call to have a voice. We're going to put up a poll now, and the poll is going to be helping us to see from your own lens. I'd like you to just the first poll. The first poll will go up now. You got to confirm if you can see it. Okay. Now, please take this poll. Let's see how you respond to this. The first question for you is, what is the most significant leadership development challenge in your organization today? This is critical for us. We need to learn. What is the most significant leadership development challenge in your organization today? The numbers are moving, and this is very critical. The most significant leadership challenge in your organization today. All right, we're moving on. About half of us have voted. I'm told those who are on YouTube, you're unable to vote at this time. Okay. Let's see how many people. About 51% of us have voted, and the values are coming up. The numbers coming up. I'll soon share the results with you. Just a little more persons to vote. Let's have your voice. What is the most significant leadership development challenge in your organization today? Around 20 more seconds, and then we'll close the poll. Ten more seconds, and then we'll close the poll. Okay, let's end the poll now. Let's end the poll. Have you ended the poll? Thank you for voting. Have you ended the poll? Okay, I would like you to see the results, and let's see what is happening across our organization. Can you share the results for everyone to see? Can you share the results for everyone to see? IT? Share result. Just click on share. Okay, so we can see it now. The list is what? Measuring effectiveness and ROI is the least challenge. That's about at 13%. 13%. Following it is at 20, what? At 19%. Weak values and cultural alignment. Wow, Dr. Abila. That's the second lowest reason why leadership is not doing well in the organization. The third, as at 21%, is digital and transformation readiness at 21%. And then at 23%, translating learning into performance. Ladies and gentlemen, you have voted that leadership capability gaps for future needs is the most significant leadership development challenge today. People need to know how to get this thing done. We need to equip people. And that's why this is a Learning Leaders Forum. There is an opportunity for learning leaders to begin to equip people for future needs. Thank you very much for your votes. And this is critical data for learning leaders to use as they move on into the new year. I'll go to my panelists and I'll go on the round two set of questions for you. May I inform all our audience, members of the audience, that you will have a time to ask your questions. You can use the Q&A button to drop your questions. If you cannot wait till the end, we'll pick it from there. Our panelists also will be answering the questions live. So watch the Q&A section to be able to see your questions responded to. Madam Clarity, I'm back to you. Madam Clarity.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk about measuring impact. Measuring impact. What exactly should leaders be measuring differently? You know, Stanley talked about data, evidence-led, data-led. Dr. Abila told us how he had to use data to get things done. The question to you is this: what should learning leaders be measuring differently if leadership development is to demonstrate real return on investment and organizational impact? I wish you can do this in 2 minutes.
Okay, I will just try to pick it into two sections. I believe that there are general questions we should be asking ourselves. Again, I'm going to go back to where I started, clarity, right? So whatever initiatives you are coming up with, what is the role of leadership in driving those initiatives that are important to your organization organization. If you look at the poll, one of the key things people have talked about is how do you translate learning into performance? And that's why it is key for you to understand the role of leadership in driving those initiatives. The second thing will be, what are the skill sets required by your leaders, by your managers to drive these plans? Right. The third thing will be, what will success look like for the business and the leaders, and what learning initiatives are you going to bring on board? Now, I want to give you a practical example or perspective from my own organization, because we have also developed or implemented learning initiatives. And I think one of the key things that we're measuring is the multiple skill sets that leaders are also able to bring on board. If you listen to the panelists, I think Stanley talked about innovation, change, adaptability. Those things are important for you to be able to be future ready, get your leaders ready. So one of the key things that we have measured is behavioral change of those people, of the learning leaders, those on the learning initiative. What changes have they brought on board? So beyond just the theory that is taught in the class, how are you translating those things that you have learned on the job? And so we do things like even measuring, their coaching abilities. What they also come up and tell us, these are the things that have changed, since the time I started to go on this leadership program. These are the changes I have seen. Beyond measuring even that person and the feedback the person is giving, we also look at the environment of that person. So we do things like even evaluating a 360-degree feedback. What is the impact that you have had from this learning program with your own group of people, your people that report to you, the leaders that supervise you, your colleagues? What are the things that you have done differently? And then we use this data. We do it the learning program, post the learning program, and we measure what changes have occurred. Are you coaching better? Are people delivering results better? Are you delegating better? Are you solving problems better? How are the people that are reporting to you also translating those things on the job? Beyond that, we also lose some statistics that we talked about, leadership role attainment. So for example, you are taking people on a learning leadership initiative because you want them to occupy a leadership role. So if 10 people went on that learning program, how many of them were eventually able to attain leadership at the end of the day? Was it all 10? Was it 7? Was it 5? When you look at that percentage, it gives you an idea of the success of your learning program. Now, beyond that, you also look at things like leadership or talent retention. And we've also done that in my organization. I was part of a program years back called the Emerging Leaders Program. I'll still speak about some of this, hopefully, as we go on. And in that program, we had maybe about 12 people, but that was 13 years ago. Now, 13 years back, we still have almost like 50% of those people still within the organization. So leadership role attainment, your ability to retain talent within your organization, you check that as well. Are you developing talent and are they leaving your organization? Are you developing talent and they're still remaining within the organization? And of course, one thing that also came out of that poll was succession planning and bench strength. And that is also critical for your leadership. Why are you developing leaders? Because you want them to be part of your organization. You want succession, to be a strong part of your organization. So you check your bench strength. How is, succession within your organization? Do you have roles that people are ready to fill now? Or you don't have roles, you have to bring people from outside? So those are some of the data and statistics that helps you to really look at, how successful has your learning program been. So you really have to go back to data and analytics and use some of these things to evaluate before and after your programs. And I believe that these are some of the things that come on board that lets you know whether or not you've actually translated, learning into actual performance and business results. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clarity. Thank you. Leaders should be measuring how they are translating into outcomes, translating learning into performance, ensuring how outcomes are documented. Critical things for me, just two critical things you mentioned there for me that stands out is growth. You want to see are the people growing personally, growing professionally, and growing institutionally. And are they transforming as their behavior goes? Because looking at Dr. Abila's conversation around character, somebody may be under pressure and cutting corners. After going through some learning, you realize that he now knows how to succeed under pressure. That's some transformation there. Thank you so much, Madam Clarity. Adding to your name now is GT. So growth and transformation. Don't forget those names, okay? Anyone who's able to get their names at the end of the day amongst my panelists, you get a golden handshake. Gold is now 5,000 USD. So you may want to get 5,000 USD handshake from me. Ms. Bankole, back to you. Let me come back to you, my erudite panelists. You still speak around governance and service delivery. And I like the conversation you gave and the insight you gave around constraints. My question, therefore, to you is this: how can leadership development be deliberately aligned with governance outcomes? You had said the leaders in the public sector are supposed to be creating public value. Okay. How can this leadership development be deliberately aligned to governance outcomes, to accountability structures, and to service delivery expectations in public institutions? How do you think this can happen?
Thank you very much. I'm not sure. You would have to find a way to craft my C. Constraint is maybe pushing against constraints or something. But when it comes to the public sector, I make bold to say that I believe that leadership development is a governance tool in itself. So for the public sector, you can't have leadership programs sitting in HR silos, which are then disconnected from governance priorities. Okay, and this is why leadership development, I truly sincerely believe that leadership development is a governance tool in itself. And then I would therefore suggest practical alignment points. First, what questions are we asking ourselves? I think we need to reframe and rephrase our questions. So we should be positioning from the perspective of governance outcomes, not competencies. Okay. Instead of asking, what leadership skills do we want? Why can't we ask, or why should learning leaders should be asking, what governance failures are we trying to prevent and what service outcomes must improve? For example, if service delivery is weak due to delays and bottlenecks, leadership development must strengthen decisions, delegation, and risk management. If corruption persists, then leadership development must explicitly build ethical reasoning, accountability, and consequence management, which a lot of people, especially in public sector, do not want to hear. As an aside, I know that the consequence management policy and its guideline was recently approved by the Federal Executive Council. And already, unlike the rewards and recognition policy and its guideline, because it is called consequence management, it has a negative connotation. We'll get to that. So that tells you the context in which you're applying your leadership. Now, for the push for performance management system across public sector is a strong entry point. Leadership programs should be designed to help leaders do what? Set measurable targets, hold performance conversation, and use data for decisions, not intuition alone. So data, a compilation of data is useless if it's not put to utility. Align leadership development with accountable structures. Public leaders are accountable upward. I've talked about the political stakeholders, presidency, National Assembly, and also across peers and across institutions. And for those who are receiving the services from the public sector, the citizens, very importantly, then leadership should also, the development must therefore include how to manage political administrative boundaries. I'm going to take a pause, and I can't overemphasize how important this is. I have seen reform fail because the political awareness, the ability to influence power, to influence decision, to get people on board and be inclusive, to appeal and appease all stakeholders. That key skill was just missing. And there have been issues or rivalries between political appointees and career public servants based on that singular relationship management. Also, how to brief, for instance, your ministers effectively, and how to respond to audit oversight committees and public scrutiny. Even where your content is right, there is a know-how. That content must be delivered in a way that is acceptable, or else it will be shut down. That is public service for you. Number three, make service delivery the testing ground for leadership. Leadership capability should be tested where citizens feel it most, and that is in the service delivery. If we take a look at the tax reforms going on, leaders have to manage resistance, they have to reskill their staff, they have to redesign processes and deliver results within a very tight timeline. And that is what is needed for learning leaders to be able to do. And also, they should deliberately design action learning projects tied to real service delivery priorities for the citizenry. Finally, institutionalized leadership, don't personalize it. I'll say that again. Institutionalized leadership, don't personalize it. Repeatable leadership practices are a must. Okay. And in building, when leadership development is aligned this way, it translates directly into better governance, stronger accountability, and more reliable service delivery. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I've got some help for you here. Someone has said I should change that constraint to constraint optimizer, that you're one who is optimizing constraints. Do you like that? I don't know. Maybe in the chat, somebody will help us with
Absolutely. No, that's fine. Let's take that. That's fine.
Okay, so you are I'll just call you CEO, Madam CEO, yeah? Okay. Thank you so much, Dukwe. Your conversations around reframing, key reframing, we should reframe. Because I think one psychologist said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. We need to start to ask different questions, wear a different hat, have a different lens. Perhaps you see things differently, you will respond differently, and you get different results. You also said that we should know how to engage. There is a political skills inventory that I think members of this room should maybe look for. There's a political skills inventory that I think we all should, pay attention to. We should look out for it. That political skills inventory has about, if I'm not mistaken, 18 items that allows us to identify how to influence political service holders and other critical stakeholders in the public service. And then you've talked about service delivery as a testing ground, and then institutionalizing and not personalizing leadership. Thank you very much, Madam CEO. Okay, let's come to Mr. Dr. Character, Dr. Abila. Embedding values into behavior. I heard Adejoke mention earlier on that it's not enough for people to go for these trainings. We want to see them change their behavior. For you, Doc, how can learning leaders move values from just statements that we see on the sidewalks, on our corridors, on our systems? How do we move values from statements and frameworks into lived leadership behaviors and organizational culture? How do we do that, Doc?
Thank you very much. Values can be embedded into behaviors and become part of culture by practical example. It is called modeling the way or walking the talk. The single most powerful way to embed values into culture is leadership behavior. Employees imitate what leaders practice, not what leaders preach, not what leaders teach in the class, not the leadership development program, no, or what happens on the job daily. What are the behaviors of leadership across all the levels of the organization, from top to the least level of leadership? What are they doing? What is the daily practice? That is the single most important factor. In fact, it is recommended that you take each of your values, define what they mean. So don't just say integrity. What does it mean? How is it applied? What do we look for in the behavior of leaders? Don't just say empathy. How does it work? Define it and hold leaders accountable for that. So leading by example is the most powerful single factor. And let me illustrate this from a personal experience in my career. In 2009, I was assigned to lead a learning and development function in the bank. So I was a learning leader. Now, this group of 5 employees were thoroughly demotivated and demoralized because there was crisis in the bank as a whole. Therefore, I engaged leading by example to turn around that team such that their morale were revived. The 5 values of the bank then were excellence, integrity, commitment, respect for the individual, and teamwork. Now, because my team saw those values in my daily decisions and daily actions, their morale was revived and they began to copy what I was doing. At the end of that year, 2009, that team was not only turned around, that team went ahead to win the award from Industrial Training Fund for the best L&D team in Lagos State. And that team became the darling of the bank. Now, that was leadership by example. I saw that work like fire. So today, leaders can translate values into culture by behaving those values, because people will rather do what they see you do, not what you say. It is not about the preaching, it is about the practice. Secondly, entrench those core values into the policies, all the management systems, what we call the HR management systems, all of them, from your hiring systems to your onboarding systems to your performance management system to policies to practices across the organization. Embed and entrench these values in them so that you are hiring people according to your values, you are rewarding people according to your values, you are promoting people that uphold your values. Remember the 86% and 14% of my experience in the last story. That is what works. 3, recognize leaders and celebrate leaders who embody your values and sanction those who violate them. 4, establish a strong consequence management system. Values become real only when violators have consequences and when whistleblowing is safe. You can use mechanisms such as ethics hotlines, fair investigation processes to measure and reward and sanction leaders and employees alike who uphold the values of the organization. It is very key. And lastly, number 5, measurement. Measure your culture and values adoption. How do you do that? You reward people according to the measures that they have scored when they are measured in terms of their values and leadership behaviors. And
Yes,
when
sir.
that happens, people are bound to follow their lead. Some of the metrics include employee engagement surveys, leadership trust index, and behavioral KPIs that can be used. So values move from statements to lived culture when learning leaders deliberately embed them into leadership behaviors, into organizational systems, into development programs, accountability mechanism, and everyday decision making. This way, the values become culture. I have seen this work in that my example. Remember, leadership has a foundation of ethics, values, and purpose. And leadership development must reflect this foundation. Learning leaders must embody those values that they teach. Otherwise, the values will remain cosmetic, the culture will drift, performance will become unsustainable.
Thank you.
As Albert Schweitzer puts it, and I'm closing, example is not the main thing in influencing others. It is the only thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. About Schweizer, example is not the only thing, it's the main thing. Thank you so much, Dr. Abila. Critical conversations there. Modeling is the key word. Modeling it, entrenching it within our policies, ensuring there's a reward and recognition to reinforce it, and ensure that there's sanctions around consequence management and there's measurement. I think there's a book that all of us as professionals need to get. This book will really speak to this topic. It's called Tone at the Top. Tone at the Top by a man called Ian Muir, IANMUIR. There's a book titled Tone at the Top. It just tells you how the behavior of leaders shape culture, shape strategy. Most often than not, strategy may be in place, policies may be in place, but the behaviors of the leaders actually determine the narrative that people want to follow. Thank you so much, Doc, for your perspective. Stanley, I'm just going to make you wrap up this second round of questions before we take our second poll. You are Mr. Data, leading change. How do you think learning leaders should use data? How do you think they should use capability frameworks? And how do you think they should begin to use future skills intelligence to build the leadership pipelines that remain relevant over time? We're talking about building the next gen leaders. How can data help us to get there?
All right, thank you. So we're looking here at data. We're looking at capability frameworks. We're also looking at future skills intelligence that helps us build leadership pipelines over time. I like what someone once said, that in God we trust, all others bring data. Okay, so once you have data, data can't lie. Yeah? So it's important that for us as individuals, I like that a lot of us have spoken today about how important data can become the fulcrum upon which decision making becomes swifter and becomes impactful. Now, how will learning leaders use this to build leadership pipelines for the future? The first thing would be we need to, as an organization and as learning leaders actually who drive learning for organizations and drive leadership, we need to clearly define what our critical roles are. We must move away from just driving training programs to building capability ecosystems. These are very important things because the traditional way has been HR being a cost center, like we know. What we do is begin the year, run training programs for the sake of running them and not tying them to critical things that will add value to the organization. So one of the big things is when we define our critical roles as an organization so that it helps us make the right investments on what is important. If you look at certain industries, for instance, in the telecom industry, a critical role is that role that focuses, that focuses on, has a strong impact on revenue, strong impact on productivity, strong impact on customers, strong impact on innovation, and all that. So you will see those roles sit pretty in certain functions and sometimes across functions, and not all roles are critical. When we do succession planning and critical role assessments, most of us who are involved in this, you realize that sometimes maybe only 20-30% of your entire jobs, not people now, your entire jobs are core jobs. Now you must prioritize your investments on those core jobs, critical roles. And by that, the people who sit in critical roles must be strong enough to contribute significantly to the success of the organization. That's one of the first things we must think about. Are we able to create assessments for this thing? So we have data that guides the investments that we make. That brings me to another point around building development interventions framework. So learning shouldn't just be something that hangs in the air. We must build the right framework that enables learning thrive and make the right impact in the organization. So learning isn't just about training. And you and I know that the 70-20-10 model, like we all know, is the framework that enables us impact and build development that are experiential for the people in the organization. And one critical example I usually would give is if I need to go learn how to drive today and I go to a driving school and you send me into a class, this is now training. You put me in class for 5 days and you show me all the parts of the car, what the engine looks like, what the gear system, how it works. You tell me all the theory. At the end of 5 days, that doesn't make me a driver. But if you take me out and you put me in the car with someone, now the coach, sitting beside me and guiding me on how to start the car, how to engage the gear, how to, control, you realize that in 2-3 days, I have become someone who can almost drive by himself. So how do we create experiential learning in the workplace with the employee now as the person learning to drive and the coach being the manager who is now the person teaching the person how to drive, enabling learning within the organization? The framework has to be clear. Development interventions. How do we move from just classroom trainings and move into acting opportunities? You say someone is a successor to a critical role. Beautiful. But when the incumbent in the role goes on leave for 2 weeks and 1 month, what does the successor do? How do we get them to sit in those roles and then act in those roles and they are assessed? That way we close readiness gaps that may exist in that succession development plan. How do we also think about other opportunities beyond learning that can help us give experiential development to the people who we are talking about? Now, the third point I would like to make is how do we also move away from just we have data sitting everywhere around us, but managers I see all the time do guesswork. So I see people placing people on the 9-box grid and they just make assumptions. And they say, okay, he's a nice guy, he's a great guy. The guy that washes my car, washes my wife's car, he must be a great guy. Let's place him somewhere. Assumptions. How do we make that shift? And then create a structure where people cannot make decisions without thinking about data. That becomes a very critical element as we build into the future. We have assessment data from succession planning, from talent assessment, from critical roles assessment. We have a lot of assessments sitting. We have performance data sitting everywhere. We do engagement surveys, pulse surveys, all the surveys, data sits everywhere. Succession risk data sitting, all those data sitting everywhere. The question is, what then do we do with them? How do we engage and enable our managers always revisit those data in decision making? We want to plan development for people. Is development just a nice to have, or we have looked at performance for the last year and based on the evaluation of performance, we said there was a gap we identified. So development this year is to bridge that gap. Or are we looking at the data for this year and saying this is the strategy for 2026? We realize that we don't have skills in this area of our business that we're trying to move into, and based on that, we're making investment in those directions. So these are things that we need to do with data available to us. And maybe the last part is we need to start thinking about building what I call future-facing capability framework. Think about it this way. Where can we make investments and then get the best or the most impact? Think about a management development program for your managers who are dealing with the guys who report into them. Think about making investments in people who are where the 80-20 rule, right? The 20% of people who are making 80% impact in the organization. So who are those people and how do we ensure that our managers, let's not forget that a lot of the people we call managers today moved from operations. We saw them as great guys. We appreciated them. We clapped for them. We rewarded them then with promotions. But the transition to management did not really happen. So someone is now a manager and is still acting the way he was as an operator. So there's no change. If you've read the case study, Who's Got the Monkey, please look for that case study, Who's Got the Monkey. I have a case study. That would help a lot. So how do we help them make that transition and then ensure that our investment is moving them from being a manager of self to manager of people? I can go on and on this, but I think these are the critical elements that I think would help us make critical impact on data, capability frameworks, and future skills intelligence as we think about the future of the organizations that we work for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stanley. Thank you so much for your perspective. Role clarity, building development intervention. Learning should be seen as an intervention to make you ready for the future, intervention to help you correct performance deficiencies, and interventions to help ensure that you are delivering value for all your stakeholders. I particularly like that portion of the last set of comments you made around future facing capabilities. I think the world that we're living in now is one that is changing, rapidly changing, and the pace of change is such that you cannot think that the ideas and the competencies of the past would still remain. If we all are familiar with the World Economics Forum Future of Jobs Report 2025, that data is a rich resource, about 190 pages. World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report, that report identified that about 170 million new jobs or competencies will be moving out, and a net of 92 million jobs will be created. It's important that we all go ahead and look at that because new capabilities are being demanded, and learning leaders need to draw from such rich data to position themselves and design programs that will really bring value to their teams. It's time for the second poll. The first poll was good. The second poll, and while we wait for the second poll, let me try to restate the title of the book I mentioned earlier on. Is The Tone from the Top by Ian Muir, IAN MUIR. The Tone from the Top. Ian Muir, a good resource that you can get. And then I think Stanley just recommended the case study titled Who's Got the Monkey? Stanley, am I correct? Who's got the monkey?
You're correct. Yes, Harvard is a Harvard case study. I think it's there. If they don't have it, I can find it. But I think they can find it on the internet. Yeah.
All right.
Who's got the monkey? Very amazing read.
Good resource. Ian Muir's book, The Tone from the Top, is also a good resource. Now let's have our poll up. Second poll, hoping to get more respondents this time. We are really leveraged data on this first edition of Learning Leaders Forum. The poll is up there. Over the past 2 years, over the next 2 years, what should learning leaders prioritize the most? This poll is also available for those on YouTube, I'm told. Over the next 2 years, what should learning leaders prioritize the most? Okay, we have almost half of us already taking the poll. Over the next 2 years, what should learning leaders prioritize the most? Just a few more persons to turn in their votes so this data can be authentic. Let's have your thoughts. We've crossed 50% of the participants already. So we're about to close the poll. If you haven't turned it in, just do so now. Okay, let's end the poll. Thank you for voting. Thank you for voting. Let's share the results. Share the results. Okay. What should we be looking ahead to? The list is measurement and impact analytics. Is that the list? The list is leadership pipeline depth, 12%. You're saying we should not be focusing on that. It's important, but not the most important. Then measurement and impact analytics. Then that's at 30%. The next is at 21%. 21% execution and performance outcomes. And then 27% values and ethical leadership. Learning leaders of CIPM 2026. You're saying the most important thing we should be looking at the next 2 years is digital and future skills. Digital and future skills are 28%. That's instructive. Thank you very much for your voice. We'll now come as we try to close this session. My leaders, my panelists, I would appreciate that you respond to these questions in about 1 minute or less. And the same question I'm asking you, or maybe I should ask the ladies the first question, and the second question I'll go to the men. So to my ladies, let me start with my constraint optimizer, my reframer, the one who says service delivery should be used as a testing ground. They advocate for institutionalizing learning and not personalizing it. Talking about Dukbe. Dukbe, the question for you is this. And this same question goes to my clarity queen, Joke. The same question to both of you. If you can help me respond in 1 minute or less. If learning leaders cannot fix everything at once, what should they consciously prioritize? And what should they be prepared to deprioritize? Let me start with my constraint optimizer.
Thank you very much. So if we can't have it all, I would prioritize 3 things. I'll prioritize leadership at critical nodes. So you look at a group of people who will be directing the affairs of the institute, of the organization, of the ministry, and you focus on them. So we're looking at directors, deputy directors, DGs, because these roles translate policy into action. 2, I would also prioritize judgment, not skills. So we're prioritizing decision-making, ethical reasoning, and systems thinking over generic leadership theories. Finally, I'll prioritize learning in the flow of work. Coaching and mentoring and peer learning matter more than all the training, wherever you take the training to, because implementation is key and it's better to do it on the job. What will I deprioritize? One-off certificate-driven leadership. And I know that not everyone will agree with me, I am tired of those lingos. They don't make sense to me anymore because I can't see them in action and everybody likes to speak them. Persevere to, or what do you persevere to, what aspire to. In fact, I turn it off now. So we're tired of that. Let's look at training. Let's leave those kind of talk and look at what we have in action, on action, that can translate into impact rather than too much grammar. Thank you.
Thank you. No more grammar. No more grammar. Let's get to the work. Clarity Queen.
Okay, 2 things on my own plate. I think I'll pick it off where Modupe left off, which is coaching and mentoring. I think that's so critical. If you look at the poll again that was put up, one of the key things that people are looking at is future capability gaps and how leaders can step into that. And so coaching is critical because there's a lot of information that leaders have that they are not able to translate to other people coming after them. And I'll give a practical example because I like to be real, and that's why we're here, to take away things that we can implement in our own organizations. So C-suite generally, they feel like they know a lot. And so there's not a lot of focus on the C-suite as well in terms of building their capability gaps. But they are the ones at the top, and they drive down a lot of those things to everybody that, reports to them. So in my own organization, even as a general manager then, we had a coaching program, and we brought in the members of the board, right? And we had it like 3 ways. We had external coaches, and of course, Dr. Henry Onukuba is here. He was one of those coaches that we had from the LBS faculty. We had board members who also came on board, and we were also mentoring us as general managers and new directors. And then we also had our executives as direct coaches as well. And so when you look at that, we were able to gain a lot from direct engagements, from conversations, from board members, the expectations, because we also have aspirations to grow to that board. And so when you translate that, even for us, to other people that report to us, coaching is such a key and powerful thing, and mentoring is such a key and powerful thing that I believe that every person should begin to prioritize within the organization. Now, the second thing that I'd like to talk about is also building leadership across different levels. And Dr. Abila spoke to that, and it struck a chord because this is something that we do. We have leadership programs across. Leadership is not just about those at the top. Remember, leadership is about influence, and you can influence at any level. So in my own organization, we have several programs, and I will share again because ultimately it's about taking practical learnings from the, coming into the graduate training program. We have that. We have what we call the Generation Next Leadership Program. We have what we call the Factory Leadership Program, because our factory is critical to us. We're a manufacturing organization, and a lot of our assets are there. We have to build leaders who can, manage those assets and optimize those assets. We also have what we call the Emerging Leaders Program for those who are going to like senior manager role. And then I spoke about the one even I underwent, which was the Senior Leadership Program, talking about the bringing in the board and all that. So you must prepare your organization and have leadership programs that cuts across. And that is the only way that you can begin to build those capabilities such that your organization is ready for the future, where you have leaders who are agile, not just at the top, from the bottom to the top. So those are the 2 things I'm going to say prioritize: coaching and mentoring, building leadership across different levels within your organization. Now, what we like to prioritize is very simple. Sometimes leaders, we feel like we are supermen and superwomen, and we want to do everything. You really, just like Dr. Luda has given me, you have to have clarity. What is important to your organization? Prioritize. You cannot address everything. You cannot solve every problem. What is critical? Focus on those things. And at the end of the day, you are not running yourself ragged, because there's a lot of burnout for leadership now. You need to focus on what is important and deliver what is important. I think for me, those are the key things that I would say: prioritize and deprioritize. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The ladies have done justice to prioritization and deprioritization. Go away from aspire to perspire so that you don't get to retire. Jukwe wants to retire. Okay, and that's great. We need to focus and not just be everywhere. Zig Ziglar said, don't be a wandering generality, be a meaningful specific. Let me come to the gentlemen, Dr. Abila and Stanley, in 1 minute each. For both of you, I want to find out, is leadership failure today more about capability gaps? Is it about cultural weakness? Or is it about system misalignment? What exactly should learning leaders be responding to as the critical failure of leadership today? Just give me 2 points. I know you have a lot more, but just 2 from each of you will be fine. Let me start with Stanley.
All right, thank you. So I'll go very quickly. But there are 2 things I'll say as I think the big challenge here is that leadership failure today is primarily a system failure or a system problem, let me put it that way, which at some point is amplified by capability gaps. And as we progress, we realize that they are pretty sitting on and protected by culture that isn't working. So, and I say this because capability gaps exist where leaders don't understand strategy, don't understand digital fluency, like we are saying, and change is happening and they are oblivious of what's happening around them. And then we have culture where people are rewarded are just rewarded for things that have not got the right basis or data behind them. What do we punish people for? What behaviors are safe within the environment? And then when we come and we look closely at the system and we realize that the system is not the kind of system that is integrated, that helps drive the right behaviors within the organizations. You realize that KPIs are rewarded for very short-term results and not something that you can say consistently you have seen, demonstrated. Promotion is based on tenure rather than readiness. Some of those are system failures that are holding us back. So if I were to talk about things we need to focus on, number one, I've been asked to speak about two, will be how we redesign our leadership system as much as possible. Who do we promote within the organization? How do we reward people? What do we tolerate? Dr. Amos spoke about this earlier. And what capabilities are mission critical? I spoke about critical roles. So we need to sit and redesign our systems as much as possible. And then we need to embed learning into real work and move away from the classroom conversation that we've been having. Very important, because the 10% is an enabler. So it's very important. But that we all focus on the 10% shows that we are not doing enough on the 70-20-10 model. So how do we begin to drive action learning? How do we make managers coaches, strengthen their muscles as coaches so they can help enable the people who work for them, and tie that even to KPIs for managers, ensuring that managers also and leaders are also measured on people development matters, and all that. And how do we ensure that the business embeds learning in everything and every chain as it goes? Those are the two critical things I'll speak about, and then I'll leave Dr. Amos to wrap it. Thank you.
Two big things you talked about, Stanley. Thank you very much. Let's hear from Dr. Abila. Two small things.
Okay, thank you for that. The two things I would mention is just similar to what has been said before, but from another angle. When culture is weak, then leadership is bound to fail, because even capable leaders, they compromise values under pressure. It has been found. So therefore, we need to pay attention to culture. Common cultural failures include fear-based leadership, when leadership is driven by fear rather than trust. Low trust, which I mentioned earlier. Ethical erosion, when the ethical foundation of the organization is eroded. These are major causes of leadership failure. Remember, culture shapes behavior far more powerfully than competence. So we need to pay attention to the culture of the organization that we have. The second aspect is system failure. System failure in the entire organization. Now, common system failure that you see around, things like reward system that prioritize short-term results instead of long-term results. Promoting people who achieve results by violating core values. These are system failures. KPIs that encourage unethical shortcuts. These cause far more failure than low individual leadership capability. So smart leaders can still fail because the system sabotaged them. Now, the impact is that system force even good leaders to behave badly. What should we do? We should therefore focus on strengthening our system and rewarding people who achieve results by doing what is right. So it is more about systems and culture than individual capacity and capability. Remember, leadership failure is structurally induced, not personally intended.
That's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That last point just validates what my constraint optimizer mentioned about institutionalizing it and not personalizing it. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to please applaud my panelists for today? They have been very, very, very resourceful. They've given us a lot of things. Can you applaud them, please? Can you applaud them? Can you applaud them? Thank you. Thank you. Smart leaders. Smart leaders. Knowledge is not domiciled in agenda. It's evenly spread across all creation. Okay, we're going to take a few questions, and some of your questions have come, and within the time that we have, we're going to take a few of them. Babatunde Badejo, you've sent in your questions. And I'll pose this question to our leaders. Pardon me, leaders, you got to trust my judgment here. Dupe, you talked about judgment, decision making. So let's start to practice now. Trust my judgment, and any question I throw at you guys is appropriate. Is that taken? Is it going to be taken? Fantastic. Thank you, Stanley. I see you are preparing. So Babatunde Badejo's first question says, do you think the next generation view leadership as influence, service, power, or something else entirely? That's to Madam Clarity. That question is to my Clarity Queen. Do you think the next generation views leadership as influence, service, power, or something else entirely? I'll give you 30 seconds to please respond to that.
Okay, thank you. So it's an interesting question, and I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of those that I lead on my team or within my organization and what their thoughts are. I believe it's a lot about influence, right? Just engaging the younger generation. I know that they also want to do things, and they want to be they want people to role model those things that they like to see. So I believe it's a lot about influence, and I think that's key. I'll talk about some of the challenges we faced as an organization where we had some sort of attrition. And when we got to the root of it, it was this generational difference between managers and their reports, who are the newer generation. And then having conversations, oh, the managers, we feel like they don't understand us, they push us so hard, they don't do this, they don't do that. Sometimes they need to be a little bit more empathetic and things like that. It was clear that they had these ideas of this is what a manager should be able to listen to me, to understand my own point of view, influence me in a way like I feel like I am somebody, I'm part of this organization. So in resolving that, we had to organize sessions between the managers and the reports. And we had several conversations, and it was clear that, oh, there was this gap. These are the things that they want you to do as a leader. They want you to see you walk that talk and influence the things that they are saying, not, say one thing and do another thing. And with that, honestly, having those conversations, also managing the managers as well, right? This is a generation that, yes, you need to understand how to, get the best out of them, the way you communicate, be careful about issues around mental health. That is important to them. And so having those conversations helped us to reduce the attrition rates. Honestly, by the time we got to the second quarter, it was almost non-existent in that team. So obviously, influence is critical, even for this generation coming. You must walk the talk. You must, showcase those things that they want to see as a leader. So I will not take away the place of influence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Influence. They want you to walk the talk, model it, just like Dr. Abila said, model it, show us. Don't just say it, show it. My constraint optimizer, the next question is for you, is a public sector focused question. Nneka Iyase has said that the public service officers face extreme constraints expressing themselves in terms of adding value. And this exposes them for time, she said, to sabotage. Sometimes they are seen as Mr. Know-all solution provider. She's asking you, how do you survive public sector workplace, making impact and staying safe? How do you ensure that you are bringing the solutions to the table and that you are staying safe? They are not going to set you up for death.
Okay, I have 30 seconds to respond to this. But this is what I'll say. In the public service, impact is not about how smart you are, but how safely your intelligence moves through the system. So you want to de-emphasize focus on yourself, and that is one mistake that we make. We want to own that solution. You're setting yourself up for attacks. Okay, it is what it is. Why don't you just be in the room and let the solution be co-owned? So for instance, rather than being the solution provider, be the solution options. So present choices and implications, because shared decisions also means shared risks. Then also timing beats truth. Choose your time very, very, very wisely. Be selectively visible. Don't be everywhere. Look at where you can have the highest impact.
Good morning. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll just continue. So look at where you can have the highest impact. Don't be everywhere. Become easily accessible. I don't want to use the word cheap. That's what is coming to my head, but just make yourself scarce and then guard your reputation very fiercely. Guard your reputation very fiercely. So yes, it will happen. The important thing is ensure that your impact is not threatening others. And you need the skills to be able to do that. And these are some of the things that I've just highlighted. Continue to wear your institutional armor. Ideas survive when they're framed as supportive ideas or phrased as supportive elements for other people, then not personal brilliance. Never, ever forget that.
Oh my God.
You.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You don't want us to express personal brilliance, but you're bringing personal brilliance to this table today. I mean, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Dupe, for your thoughts. Let me come to Dr. Abila. There's a question here from Felix. Felix says, at what point exactly do leaders employ leadership skills that are not in the books? Because some of the things that you have said, you have shared a lot of thoughts today. Many of the things were not in the books. At what point exactly do leaders employ skills that are not in the books? I'll give you 45 seconds because I like your bow tie.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for that question. Now, let me say this. First, leadership is personal before it is shared. Ethics and values are personal before they are corporate. If they are not personal, the corporate one cannot work. If they are not personal and inside, the sharing cannot happen. So it's not about the books. It's not about what is written on the walls. It's not about what is flying on our computer screens as core values. Ethical leadership begins from private leadership that is grounded in ethics and morality. Remember, a man or a woman, for that matter, cannot give what they don't have. So it's got to be inside first before it can be shared outside. So every individual leader must have a grounding in ethical conduct that is personal to them. Then they can go on to display and demonstrate that in the workplace and influence team members and others to follow suit. That is the way it happens. So it goes from the inside to the outside. If it is not in there, it cannot happen on the outside. So even where the organization is weak, even where the culture is not that supportive, even where policies are not really strong in that area, an individual leader, because he has a strong ethical grounding, that moral can help that person to be effective in demonstrating ethical leadership in the workplace. That is how it happens. Thank you so much.
Dr. Abila, thank you so much. That's critical. What you said reminds me of a book that even though people are asking, what do we need to learn that is outside the books? It reminds me of a book that John Maxwell wrote. It's titled, There is No Such Thing as Business Ethics. There is no such thing as business ethics. What he said in that book, the treatise of the book, the entire summary of that book says, you project into the business your personal values. You project your personal values into, so there's nothing like business ethics as much as your personal values, your personal ethics are the things you bring to bear in your institutions. And I think that's a profound thing you've said. Thank you very much, Doc, for that. I'll go 2 more questions, and the last question will come to you, Dupe. But before then, this question is for Stanley. Stanley, how do you help me help this professional? This HR professional is saying, how do I become a professional human resource manager if my learning is not practicalized in real life scenario? I mean, I've learned, but I don't have the opportunities to practice in my workplace. Perhaps she's gotten the certifications, but there are no opportunities to express. What exactly should the person be looking at?
Okay, so when you have all the certifications and you don't have the opportunity to express them, there are a couple of things you can actually do to become to begin to build your muscles in the HR space. And one of such is firstly, you must be open to finding someone in your network who would be willing to mentor and coach you so that you begin to understand, because theory is different from practice. And in HR, under the CIPM that has gathered us together, there are certain elements of HR practice and ethics that we must uphold as standards if we want to be successful in our roles. Secondly, you would need to find opportunities where you can volunteer or support a cause in the HR space. There are organizations today that have projects that they run that would be a huge opportunity for you to go learn and whatever you get in terms of compensation, whether it's there or not, but you are willing to say, I want to do this for a couple of 6 months and just join the project. There are consulting organizations today that are doing massive projects for organizations that you want to learn from. So if you want to work in, there are key pillars in HR, you want to be a recruitment specialist, for instance, you need to clearly define what you want to do and find recruitment agencies that you may want to partner with to build your skills before the opportunity comes for you to work in a proper corporate organization. So also for learning and development and all the other areas that possibly could open up to you. But you need to first of all define what you want as a HR person. Sometimes, yes, the generalist space is beautiful, but you also have the options of saying, I want to specialize and then move laterally in my career and move from one to the other until I build all the skills I need and then get to the top as a HR leader. Build a clear plan and then find the right support that would help you with all the options that we've put before you today. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Stanley. And I think to add to that, we all should be ready to embrace volunteering. There are a number of people who are volunteering today, and that's the only part that they have engaged in practicing. You possibly found yourself in an organization that's not going to give you an opportunity to practice. But if you volunteer, weekend volunteering, like someone just mentioned on the chat now, weekend volunteering, just make yourself available. There are NGOs today who are looking for people with knowledge to help them manage some of their, entities and practices. So Dupe, this is last question from the audience, and it's to you because it's civil service focused. Is there any mechanism to measure the training programs in the civil service to make sure that there is return on investment? Because it looks like all of the learning interventions in the public sector, by virtue of what Love Ezema is saying, this question is from Love Ezema. Is there value? How are they tracking value?
Can you hear me?
Yes, very clearly.
Okay, fantastic. So thank you very much for that question. This is actually a big problem. And this is why we have the budget for training keeps getting reduced, because there is no impact of that training on the job. I think so let me tell you what happens. So what happens normally is you go for a training, then you come back and you're supposed to write report, or your attendance is taken, and those are evidences that you have attended that training, but no evidence that you have learned and no evidence that you are implementing the learning. So I have actually conducted training in ministries where maybe the director in charge, because the training is specific, before sending people on the training, you already know the outcome that you want and you want the impact that you want to have. So before they even gave me that contract, I was made to specify how I would help support the implementation when they get back to the office. And so that was part of my contract. But I think the big thing is that training is actually seen as welfare in public service. Up till today, as much as we are trying to change it, it's like, is my right. But I can also promise you that it is changing. First, people now understand it's changing, but then again, cautiously, it's changing. I say incremental progress. So it's not as fast as we would like, and it is not like it would be in the in the private sector. However, because of the institutionalization of performance management system, you are now not only measured by you doing your tasks, but several KPIs that have been set out for you to measure how you are performing on the job. So when we're talking about outcome, we're talking about impact. Sorry, I am not going to come to this forum and say something that is not true, but that is truly a huge challenge. But I think it is dependent on leadership to change that. And I also know that there are reforms that are already in place to ensure that we do not sit in that sewer for longer than necessary. Thank you for that brilliant question. Doctor, if you permit me, I know that we're running out of time. I hope that I've done justice to that question. However, there is a question that caught my eye in the chat room, and the person was asking, can I go ahead? Let me ask for your permission first. Can I go ahead? And should I go ahead?
Yes, you have the floor in 30 seconds if you can.
Fantastic. So the question is basically, I made mention of not personalizing leadership, but institutionalizing it. And the person wanted to be clear about what that means. So a personalized leadership is where the performance of that organization depends on who is the leader. It means that decisions live in the leader's head. And that influence is by charisma, relationship. When that person leaves, the momentum collapses. However, when leadership is institutionalized, then it means that performance is driven by the systems, by the standards, and by the routines. Decision-making is, authority is clearly distributed, and when leaders change, outcomes remain stable. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Today has been a very refreshing, very insightful, very engaging, and a lot of resourcefulness has been demonstrated right in the chat room and through our panelists. I've seen people dropping their details to say they are available for volunteering. And so do not think that there's no networking when we come for this kind of events. There are opportunities to connect with professionals. If you look within the chat, people are already asking for opportunities to volunteer. If you're looking for someone who also should volunteer with you, you possibly need to catch up with that. Thank you so much for all of the responses. Thank you again to all those who asked questions. I'm going to give my panelists just 20 seconds for your closing thoughts. Closing thought. Perhaps a lot of things have gone through your head, through your experiences. I want to have your closing thoughts, and I'm going to do ladies first after men. Ladies first after men. So Stanley, over to you. Final thoughts in 20 seconds.
All right, thank you. I think for me, it's simple. I just keep it straight. Leadership is not about being the smartest person in the room. It's, for me, more about how we help people do their best work in a world that it keeps changing and evolving, and raising the kind of leaders that people truly want to work for. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. Very well said. Very well said. Dr. Bila, final word from you.
Final word from me is to say that as we rethink leadership for this changing world, let us remember that developing our next-gen leaders is about empowering our emerging leaders to be ethical, to live the core values of the organization, and to lead with purpose. Let us create a culture where leaders lead by example. Together, let us shape the future of leadership and unlock the potential of our organization's sustainable performance and results. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's the character optimizer. The clarity queen is next. What's your final word?
Thank you. It has been a very enlightening session. I think for me, the key takeaway will be that leadership is a responsibility. People often want to be called, so manager, so director, or so leader. But you have to understand that it comes with certain responsibilities and you must live up to those responsibilities. And part of it is, like Dr. Abila said, is being able to translate learning to that next generation. And so the reason for this whole session that we're having is to have learning leaders. So any leader must be willing to learn, to upskill, to reskill, to come up with new knowledge. That is critical. So this is a session that I believe has been very impactful. You must continue to learn. Reach out to as many sessions that you can, conferences that you can, because you must always think of new things that are coming, and to adapt, you must be a learning leader. That would be my own takeaway. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. A final word from you, Dupe.
We can't hear you.
Thank you for that. Apologies. Okay, so for me, keep it simple, keep it moving, and keep it straight. As we continue to develop next-gen leaders, let's focus on one thing. If it doesn't change how leaders decide, how they behave, and how they deliver, it is not a priority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Such powerful nuggets to close. Can you help me spotlight all my panelists? Let them receive an applause from everyone here. All our panelists, thank you. Thank you so much. Can you please applaud them for us? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Abila, are you missing? Yes, there. Thank you. So as we close, I want to say thank you to all our panelists for their depth, for your clarity, and for your professionalism. And to the audience, over 1,000 people still here live on Zoom and hundreds on YouTube joining us. Thank you also for your engagement. Today's conversation reinforces one central message, and this is what it is. Leadership development must connect learning to behavior, behavior to performance, and performance to outcomes. Leadership development must connect learning to behavior, behavior to performance, and performance to outcomes. And learning leaders, we all sit at the center of this responsibility. The decisions learning leaders make today will shape the quality of the leadership in our organizations that we can rely on for tomorrow. So once again, let me thank Adejoke Ali for bringing clarity. Thank Dukbe for highlighting constraints that leaders will lead from. Thank you, Dr. Abila, for letting us know that character makes the way, and for Stanley for remaining the change advocate that we have here. On behalf of CIPM and on behalf of all of these panelists, I want to say thank you for being part of this great conversation. I'll now hand over to the Registrar CE, Mrs. Toyin Naiwo, FCIPM, Chartered FCIPD. It's been a pleasure on my end here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you to our panelists. I'll leave the vote of thanks till later to my chairman to do the honors. But I would like to take us through a couple of announcements before we actually proceed. So don't go away, please. Do not go away. So we have a few programs coming up, anchored by the Institute, and it's coming up on your screen now. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is the Global Acceleration Forum. The Global Acceleration Forum. And that's coming up now. And that is a program that CIPM has gone into collaboration with an organization, and that is for our leaders, MD CEOs, HR directors, and it's going to be taking place in Cairo between April 20th of April until the 24th of April. 20th April to 24th of April, and all the details are there. If you want to be part of that, this is to be very exciting. Our president is one of the speakers. I happen to also be one of the speakers at the forum. So we're inviting you to please join us in Cairo as we get ready to take Cairo and Egypt by storm. So do not forget the SurveyMonkey link is there. It's going to come up in the chat boxes now as well. And we'll display it once it comes up again. I'm going on next to the CIPM elections. Our AGM is fast approaching. So this is just to encourage all our members to put up your membership subscription, your dues for the year, and this grants you eligibility to vote. Actually includes nomination, voting, be voted for. And so we have the details online. So do visit www.cipmnigeria.org. And if you are putting a subscription, the email address is on the telephone number as well. You can visit our website for more details. I also have, I'm actually excited about this as well. The office is back. The office is back. Now we're excited about that. Very excited. The office is back. So with effect from next week, the radio show is back. Every Wednesday, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Every Wednesday, 5:30 to 6 p.m. So join us on the office show. So we're back live and direct. Lagos Talks, 91.3 FM. Lagos Talks, 91.3 FM. We're going to share all the details with you. So share the details and you see them come up as we go on. We are also, and I think I mentioned this, in terms of delisting of members that are not financially active. Kindly ensure that you bring yourself up to date in terms of your membership subscription. The delisting notification is already going out. So once we delist you, number one, you can no longer practice HR in Nigeria without breaking the law. That is the law. You practice HR in Nigeria without being certified by CIPM. That is the law. If you do so, then there are consequences for that violation. So kindly contact subscriptions at cipmnigeria.org. The telephone number is there as well online to make good your membership with CIPM. Esther, next. HR professionals, it's time to renew your HR practitioner's license and to stay certified. They're actually tied to one another, what I just mentioned. If you're no longer a member of CIPM, that means you would no longer have a license to practice. So again, attention HR professionals, it's time to renew your HR practitioner's license and stay certified. Details, again, displayed on the screen and all available on our website as well on social media platforms. So Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, visit CIPM social media platforms, and I know we call it X as well. So visit our social media platforms. Our conference is coming up. Should I say few? Yeah, few months. The 58th International Conference and Exhibition of CIPM is coming up 21st of September to the 24th of September 2026, and we're live in Abuja and repositioning for value and impact. Repositioning for value and impact. So, to grab early discounts. Early bird discount registration is So I'm going to be sending to registration for the largest HR event in Africa. The largest HR event in Africa. And for those that do take up the early registration, the details are on there in terms of the discounts that are applicable. So please go to the website and begin your registration for the conference. And for those that attended last year, I'm sure you can testify to how much fun we had at the conference last year in Abuja. Advocacy roundtable. We've started today with our first program, the Learn With Us Forum. So we've kicked off with the Learn With Us Forum for our program. We have advocacy roundtable in Nigeria. And these are events. Don't you just love your institute. If you're not yet a member, is that you actually can join us so that you can enjoy the benefits of being members of CIPM. So the date is there, the details are there as well. We'll send that out. Mention about the Global Acceleration Forum. So again, details are there for you to see and access. So thank you very much for listening to us, and I'd like to invite the Vice President of the Institute, Mrs. Chima HSC, at CIPM, to actually take the presentation of plaques to our distinguished panelist and moderator for today. Over to you, Madam Vice President.
Good afternoon, Madam. Good afternoon, Registrar. I could barely hear you, honestly. Your mic, I don't know whether it's mine or yours. Can someone confirm that they can hear me clearly?
We can hear you, ma'am.
Oh, okay, thank you. So it's the registrar's mic. Thank you very much.
Yes, her mic.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a pleasure sitting here and listening. Please, can we put up the plaque certificates? While we are waiting, can anyone hear me? IT?
We can hear you.
Whilst we are waiting, I will just go on to say it's been an interesting time sitting here for the past 2 hours and listening to the four of us speak. I'm sure we have learned so much, everyone seated here. Whether you are leadership, panelists, delegates, committee member, it's been amazing. Thank you, every one of you. We can't thank you enough for the knowledge you've shared. This is the first learning session CIPM is having this year. And it's been amazing and highly successful. And we can't use that word successful without your input. From the word go, I have checked. What we have here has been over 1,000 delegates. They break the band. It's been like that. And consistently till the end. I kept checking, knowing that some people are also on YouTube. So that's amazing. Thank you very much. From Madam Clarity. Thank you for the clarity you brought to this session. Thank you so much. And I like the way we all handled this. And so our mother, Madam Constraint Optimizer. Actually, I was going to say creativity, because where there are challenges and constraints, of course, your creativity comes to light. And but thank God they brought that word, Constraint Optimizer. Thank you very much. And I like what we have said so far about institutionalizing leadership and not personalizing it. It has to be about the system and not about ourselves. Dr. Abila, God bless you. Thank you so much. You can't give what you don't have as a leader. As Adejoke said, influence is it, but to influence, you can't influence me if I can't see what I expect to see. That character, it's inbuilt. And I have seen a lot of leaders struggle because of character. When they begin to struggle, I just sense that they have lost it somewhere. they can't handle their team anymore because they don't model what they are saying anymore. Thank you for bringing that to bear. And our own Stanley Elowa, God bless you. You talked about decentralizing decision making. A lot of you don't know how much time people spend waiting for their boss to sign up on one document that could have simply gone and execution would take place. But that is what we struggle with every day. And as learning leaders on this platform, on this call today, I'm sure we have taken that away, that we need to empower other people and ensure that they deliver on the vision so that we do not also cripple the vision. Thank you, every one of you. On behalf of CIPM, I'm sure our plaques will be sent to you. On behalf of CIPM, we can't thank you enough, but we want to say thank you from the bottom of our heads. What would we even give you to suffice for what you have given us today, for the knowledge you have shared, for the questions you have answered, for the tips, the nuggets you have easily shared? Nothing. But when you get our plaques, I hope that, oh, that's it. It's on there. Dr. Amos Abila, this is Habila, FCIPM for that matter. My fellow, I throw away salute. This is for you, for the knowledge you have shared today so passionately. Thank you so much, sir. And we took a lot away from what you've said, and I'm sure we will not forget. Also, Stanley Eluwa, MCIPM, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know Stanley Eluwa way back. We've always been doing this. Adejoke Ali, MCIPM, my own sister, thank you. I mean, you've shared so much today. God bless you. And our own madam in the house, Modukwe Bankole, FCIPM. You brought the public sector flair, and what you shared, I'm sure that everyone working in the public sector could relate with that, and they are taking something back home. On behalf of the press, okay, our own moderator, within a week, we have met twice. And those 2 times I've been very, very impressed. You've left an impression with me. Thank you so much, Dr. Olumuyiwa Oludayo, FCIPM, for moderating this event so passionately, so well, that we've all benefited from it. On behalf of the President and Chairman of our Governing Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobre, and on behalf of the entire leadership and council of our great institute, we say thank you very much. God bless you. Accept our appreciation. We are indeed very grateful for all you have shared with us today. God bless you. Thank you very much. Madam C, I guess my job is done. Over to you. If I heard you well, because your audio wasn't steady. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Vice President. I'd like to call the Chairman of the Professional Development and Learning Committee, Dr. Henry Onuku, IPM, to speak a lot of things.
Thank you, my CE. Please confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
All right.
Audio.
So my job is very simple, to say thank you. May I start by saying thank you first of all to God Almighty for making this day possible. I wonder why the video is not clear, not sharp. All right. May I join the President and the Registrar in wishing everyone on this call a happy new year. We'd like to thank our President and Chairman of Council, Malam Ahmed Ladan Gobre, and the Vice President, Mrs. Chidemo Ibegesi, and the Registrar and members of leadership for entrusting this mandate to us once again to organize the Learning Leaders Forum 2026. I believe that this forum is critical to the Institute because it's the very first event we usually have every year. So a successful outing usually sets the stage for a productive year for the Institute. So we are happy that we've had a good outing today. Thank you. Our gratitude to our distinguished panelists. I've sat down here and I have taken a lot of notes. First, my dear friend, Mr. Joke Ali, MCIPM, Mrs. Modube Bankole, FCIPM, Dr. Amos Sabila, FCIPM, and Mr. Stanley Elua, MCIPM, all my very good friends. The panelists were carefully chosen not only for their depth of knowledge and experience, which they have aptly demonstrated this morning and afternoon, but also to reflect the diversity of the Institute's membership. So we thank you very much for giving us so many learning nuggets, some of which the Vice President has enumerated. And to our erudite and highly engaging moderator, Dr. Olumiwa Olulayo, my very good friend, thank you for expertly directing and moderating this program. I must add, as usual. Thank you. Please, can we give a round of applause? We say thank you to our distinguished audience. Thank you so much for your overwhelming attendance and participation. Last year, we had 715 or thereabout participants, which was a record. This year, we gave ourselves the target of 1,000, and we thought it was a tall target. But I was keeping tab. Just 16 minutes into the program, we already reached 1,000. So we had to take a lot of people to the YouTube platform. And at YouTube platform, we had between 400 and thereabout in the platform. So again, we have broken new grounds. We don't take your participation and collaboration for granted. And we hope that we'll see you again next year when we call you for the forum. This forum was put together by the Professional Development and Learning Committee, PDNL of the CIPM, of which I have the privilege of leading at this time. But we have a subcommittee that did the groundwork, the planning and execution, and I would like to appreciate the wonderful individuals who make up this subcommittee, led by my vice chairman, Mrs. Fibian Amushan, MCIPM. Thank you so much for the work you and your committee members have done in making this a successful outing. I'd like to appreciate other members, Reverend Amo Onidundu, FCIPM, Dr. Emma Bassi, FCIPM, Dr. Alex Igoro, MCIPM, Mrs. Obageli Aito, ACIPM, Mrs. Faith Ajayi, ACIPM, Mrs. Francesca Enase, ACIPM, Mr. John Mote, MCIPM, and then we have the technical assistants from Bukola Elisha, ACIPM, Ayomiku Awodele, and Tosi Shoboyede, ACIPM. Can we please put our hands together for them? We must not forget the wonderful CIPM HQ team for a fantastic program promotion. Thank you, Esther Adeaju and the marketing team for pushing this program beyond limits. The ICT team, thank you for your background work in making us have a successful and seamless session. Thank you. The registrar have mentioned the Cairo trip, but there are more coming. Since I have the platform, let me inform you of two other exciting international trips, international programs we are going to have under the auspices of the PDNL in 2026. Last year we were in Kigali in December, and it was a very wonderful experience. So we keep you posted on the dates and the venues for this year's international programs, but we are now going international. We are no longer limiting ourselves to Nigeria. So stay tuned for information on that. And then the pre-conference training will start the Sunday before the conference. Please It is a Sunday. We are starting on Sunday, September 20, and then Monday, September 21st. So we start on Sunday in the afternoon and some Monday all through the day. So that on Tuesday you have all the time to attend the eyes. So on this note, I'd like to thank everybody for being part of this program. I'd like to thank all our audience who are still on the call. And from this side, I wish you all a wonderful week. Thank you very much. Okay, I've been given another assignment to do a closing remark. Well, like I said, we've listened to the participants and we've taken a lot of learning. Let me just reiterate some of the things that some of the participants told us. Modube said, develop institutional, not charismatic leaders. That we need adaptive, not heroic leadership. And that public servants need to be systems literate. Dr. Amos talked about ethics, that ethics is not an option, but a necessity in the 21st century. You can't give what you don't have. And there is this talk about attitude, behavior, and character, ABC, calls it ABC. Without a strong ethical grounding, leaders may prioritize profitability over integrity, and that is not sustainable. And then we are also reminded by the panelists that we have 27% of Gen Zs in the workplace today. I didn't know that. And that means we are actually the extinct generation because the Gen Zs are taking over. So much to say, so much to take home. Thank you so much, all the panelists, on behalf of the President and the Chairman of Council, and on behalf of all of us here. I'd like to say it's been a wonderful session. We've learned a lot. We put into practice what we have learned. And we have also heard from you, because when we asked you to tell us the most significant leadership development challenge in your organization today, you told us that leadership capability gaps for future needs was the most significant, followed by translating learning into performance. You know, so it's not about being in the classroom like Stanley told us. It's about coaching, hands-on. You know, so yes, it's good to have classroom learning, but practicalizing it, making it real. I must say that if you come to LBS, we'll help you in practicalizing your learning. That is by the way. And then you also told us that over the next 2 years, the learning leaders should prioritize most digital and future skills, followed by values and ethical leadership. So we have heard from you, and this will form some of the curriculum of what we are going to be talking to you about in the year, because my committee oversees the continuous development of our HR practitioners and leaders. So on that note, and on behalf of the President and Chairman of Council and leadership of the CIPM, I'd like to say thank you for being part of this. May God bless us all, and may we have a wonderful week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I would send you a bill. That advert for LBS when this is over. But it's a good thing when partnership and collaboration with LBS. So I think I'll forget about that advert just for the minute. Thank you everyone for attending this program. Please do not forget to visit our website, www.cipmnigeria.org, www.cipmnigeria.org for information surrounding the Institute and all our activities as well. We have started, the train has left the station for 2026, but we're not there yet. So join us at all the programs, and we look forward to welcoming you soon. At this point, I would like to invite us, if it's safe for you to do so, to please rise as we take the third stanza of the national anthem as a closing prayer. Thank you. Nigeria indeed shall be blessed and is blessed. Thank you, everyone. The recordings will be available on YouTube, and also we'll send the link to everyone that's registered for this program, whether on YouTube, you attended via YouTube, or you attended via Zoom. So please feel free to go back and take more learning. Thank you, everyone, and do enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, everybody.